Running here. I'm on it. What do you wish you knew? So this week we are talking about sports and activities and just how it's so easy to let them take over our time and energy, even to the point of just giving up time with friends, family, giving up some of our other priorities in life. And so I guess as a former student athlete, what was your experience with all of this, and how did you not give into that temptation to let sports or activities completely take over your life?
So in terms of what experience I have, I definitely was involved in a lot of sports growing up, sports and other extracurricular activities as well. So grew up playing basketball, baseball, a little bit of soccer in high school. And so, definitely had a lot of sports. And then also was in band, was in a bunch of church activities, played on the worship team at church. So there's like tons of activities in sports and just stuff that I did growing up. So I guess I would first say that sports in and of themselves are not a bad thing. In fact, I think a lot can be learned from sports. And to this day, I'm still a massive encourager of people getting involved in sports and whatever activities, because I think that you talked about friendships and how those are important, and I think a lot of those are built in your sporting activities or in your band or drama or whatever you might be involved in. Those friendships are really valuable and last for a lifetime. I know some of the best friends I have in life are from just growing up playing basketball with them and playing baseball with them. And to this day, I still value those friendships. And so that's obviously the positive aspect of sports that can really be valuable throughout. I mean, granted, most people with sports will not play past high school. I was fortunate enough to be able to play college baseball. But most of the time, you're not going to be playing a sport past college, past high school even. So you have to be thinking about what are you going to be doing past then. So I think it can be really easy though to be growing up. I know as a kid I was always, I want to be an MLB player when I grow up. I want to play in the major leagues and be a stud and be a star. And I think that what drives that a lot of times is you wanting to accomplish some sort of fame or some sort of status for your own gain, right? And obviously sports are fun, so there's the competitive side of it that is there's just a fun nature in that, but I think it can be really easy to let it become kind of an idol, and so to combat that, I think you just really need to take a step back and realize that sports are just sports, and at the end of the day, that's all that it is, because it's really easy to kind of get to a point where you can sacrifice the friendships that you have outside of sports and the relationships you might have with your family, and then when you get older, you might realize, man, those were really valuable friendships that I wish I would have dug into a little bit more, but I just didn't give them the time of day because I was too invested in that coaching lesson that I did every day of the week, or that, and not to say those are always bad. Like, if you're passionate about sports and like that's something you are enjoying and that's where you're invested, again, we won't go into that, but just don't sacrifice the relationships that you might have outside of sports because of sports, because those can be really valuable, and you don't want to miss out on that. Perspective is a big thing, and that comes first by dedicating maybe what you're doing to God. Like, simply state, like, God, I'm doing this for you. It's not for my own gain, but it's to somehow bring glory to you, and whether that's through the relationships I'm building. I mean, I know at where I went to college, there's still plenty of guys who were living for the world and living for their own satisfaction. And I still, to this, I have had people come up to me and just say, hey, I really appreciated it and was really grateful for the way that you kind of just led by example, and the way that you looked for the needs of others before the rest of your team. And I don't say that to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I if you can get to a point where you are playing sports and leading an example that can maybe encourage another player, encourage another teammate, then I think that's when you've kind of found a good perspective. A quick story from when I played baseball at Bethel. After my sophomore year, I was actually at a point where I was just kind of discouraged, and I was really not that satisfied with what was going on. And I think a lot of that was because just I had some sort of, selfish desire and all of that. I wanted the playing time, I wanted the glory, I wanted all this, and I was at a point where I was almost gonna quit. I was almost just like, I don't really want to play anymore. Like, this is stupid. I shouldn't do this. So I took a summer to just kind of think over it, and I was like, I don't know what I like. So we would get back to college after the summer and start up fall ball right away. And so I still, like, month out, I was like, I don't really know yet what I'm gonna do. But kind of last second, I just was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. But I remember praying to God before I did that. I was like, all right, God, if I'm gonna do this, I want you to show up in some sort of way, and for you to show your faithfulness, or to show the fact that, like, you're gonna, and this might have been selfish in some ways, but I wanted him to show up in a way that was saying that, you were supposed to play this year. So I remember having a prayer with him that year, and it ended up being like the most satisfying, fun year of baseball ever. I had a pretty successful year, but also just like in relationships and in just the time that I had with the guys, it was super, super exciting and a lot of fun. And so, God will reward you when you go into your sports with a positive attitude and a good perspective that is selfless instead of selfish. So.